morning, grade 10s. I hope you guys had a fabulous Easter and just did all kinds of amazing things. Yeah, so this week we're gonna look at The Truman Show, which is the film study that I would regularly do with you in class. Luckily, it is on Netflix right now, and I also am going to post it on Classroom because I have a copy on my computer. So if one of those two options doesn't work for you, email me, okay? So if you have access to Netflix, go watch it, right? Or if you know, if you can get someone's stuff for the day just to watch that one film, whatever. Or you can use the, I'm gonna put one up. So you can, it might take a while to load, but then it should be good to go. I had a kid in grade 11 try that too and it worked, so. But if those two options are really not gonna work for you, just email me and let me know and we'll figure something out, okay? So, with this film, so make sure you follow the order I kind of put things in. So step one, I would read the topic of the personal response, okay, which is, to what extent is the theme of desensitization in the film present with the characters and career choices, or whatever you figure out, okay? So desensitization, what does that mean? So when you become less sensitive to the things around you, your empathy and understanding kind of becomes less. Right? So we watch so many films, or war films, excuse me, that when we see someone get shot or killed in a film, we're kind of right? We don't react. Whereas if we maybe brought someone from the past and showed them this film, it might have immense effects on them, right? But we're so desensitized to it. Or kids that play a lot of video games, or they're killing people, right? It's well, I just shot someone, whatever, right? We're so desensitized to what we're seeing. Even with this COVID thing going on, right? We're seeing more and more stuff in the news, but we're so well, that's our new normal, so we're desensitized to the situation. As well as with advertisements, right? Commercials, ads on your phone. We don't realize how much we actually internalize, right? I'm sure a lot of you have been oh my God, I'm just talking about that, and now there's an ad on my phone. So it's is that a coincidence, right? How much are we being tailored to purchase something? Does it work, right? If you see something advertised when you go to the store, are you oh, I kind of want that? How much does it have an effect on you? Are we so desensitized that we don't really realize how much ads actually affect us? Okay, so that's kind of what we're looking at with this film, okay? And so on the written part, right, I have a doc. I create an outline for you that you can use if you want to. You don't have to, but basically you, in your intro, just like with the Romeo and Juliet essay, in your intro, create an answer to the topic. And because this is a personal response, you can use I, but don't overkill it, right? You should be using higher order diction to do this response, okay? So yeah, what I would do is understand the topic, okay? So that as you watch, you can pick out good specific details that support what your answer is gonna be about desensitization and the characters and their choices, okay? And then as you watch, so you're looking for that, and then you're also answering the discussion questions. Okay, so there's 24 discussion questions, so you're answering those. So once you're done the film, right, finish answering the discussion questions. They are in order, so even if you had them open as you're watching, you could easily do both. Okay, if you want to print it out and write it out, that's fine. You could take a picture and send it to me, or just transfer, type them up. So do that, and then start your writing your response, okay? All right, so I'll just go over some examples that would be good for you guys to use, okay? So here's kind of a list, an easy list of the characters that display desensitization the most prominently in the film. Okay, so obviously Christoph, like the show's producer, director, the one that's in control of everything, it's kind of creepy, right? Like he does have this affection for Truman, like when he's sleeping and he's like petting the screen. So it's like he does care for him, but he cares more about like the shows never stop running, right? The income he gets from it, or the notoriety he gets from it, the longest running show ever, all the fans, right? That's what intrinsically motivates him. It's not his love for Truman. So he's so desensitized that this is like a real human being with feelings that he has no problem exploiting him in his life, right? Exploiting him, creating like PTSD over water, right? With his father with the boat. That's a good example of how Christoph is like literally creating trauma, purposeful trauma in Truman's life to like influence him and manipulate him into like never wanting to leave Sea Haven, right? Creating anxiety in his life. The teacher, when Truman's like, I want to be an explorer, and she's like, oh, everything's been found, right? Like they're doing that on purpose to like control him and manipulate him in his life. Christoph deciding to like bring his father back, or have like his wife leave him, like killing off one of his parents, right? Like just doing these things to Truman on purpose for entertainment value, right? Like he's the boss, he's running the show. He thinks he's creating a meaningful life for Truman. And there's that really good like kind of monologue when he's talking to like Sylvia/Lauren, saying like, how is what I'm doing different than what's in the real world, right? Like this is what reality is. And she argues that like he doesn't have a choice, like he doesn't realize what's actually happening. Along with Christoph, you could talk about like the companies in general, or like the product placement. Like there's so many instances where they're like trying to put Truman like against that billboard, like those two twins that ask him about like insurance or whatever. They're always trying to force Truman to like have that behind him for advertising, right? Or when his wife is like, new mocha chocolate, mocha, da 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 da, and he's like, what the, like, what are you talking about, right? But or the lawnmower, right? They're everything in the show you're able to purchase. So they're trying to get their products out there. So again, those companies are so desensitized to the fact they're exploiting a person, but just to gain revenue for themselves. Okay. I mean, if you took Social 10, you kind of know that already too, right? We talked about like Colton mining with cell phones and like the chocolate, like child labor. We're so desensitized to that because, I mean, we get a product out of it. Another person you could talk about in your reflection is like Meryl, like his wife, right? Who's a hired actress, and she's been doing this for so long because they went to college together, right? But just how she emotionally manipulates him, right? To her, like, again, she's so desensitized that like she's married to somebody, but it's all fake and fraudulent, right? Like that is so heartless to do to somebody. And then she's trying to convince him to have kids with her. Because again, Christoph is like, oh, the first like on air, like conception, like how amazing would that be? Like so twisted that you are playing with someone's life and their intimate part of their life. Like they're, what they think is like something they would hold dear to them, and that's being exploited for the whole world to see. Okay, so yeah, Meryl we saw was obviously extremely manipulative. Like makes him feel bad about like leaving his mother, taking the money, saving up, like just emotionally exploiting him to make sure he stays in Sea Haven and just like control his choices and decisions. So she doesn't see him as a human really either. Same with his friend Marlon, right? They've been friends since they were kids. Like they've literally grown up together, but he still knows the truth and that he's like an actor. So it's like he doesn't care about him either, right? When they're trying to find him when he goes missing or finally escapes, right? They're all like against him, trying to force him to stay there. And like, so at what point does it really end, right? Like you can't, someone that determined to be free, like you can't force them. Even like his mother and father, right? We know Truman was legally adopted by like the production or by like the company. And so these two people have essentially adopted this child and raised him. And so when the father was like fired or like killed off, right, like he is now separated from that kid as well, that he raised. So just like, yeah, the pure desensitization about like feelings, emotions, human beings having like an authentic experience, right? And how much that like is important to your life. Because if we look at another thing, if you wanted to bring into your response, you could talk about like reality TV shows that we watch now, like Keeping Up with the Kardashians, The Bachelor, right? Like how much is that like real and true? How much are we exploiting people's like emotions for our own entertainment value? There's so many examples you could bring in. So you could even compare the Truman Show to a reality show of your choice. Just make sure you do a lot of research into that show and figure out like how much is production value, right? Like for example, on some of the singing shows, they've already like pre-interviewed them or like made sure they can sing before they go on stage. It's never like authentic, right? So just looking at how we manipulate the show too for the viewer, for the audience, so that we're desensitized to like the truth. Like we want to be like, oh my gosh, he really just went on stage and sang that well, like how incredible. Or like The Bachelor, I don't watch The Bachelor, but like, oh my God, we're so in love and we go on these fantastic holidays, but they're dating like 3 other people. I don't know. You know what I'm saying though, right? There's tons of examples you could bring in to support your opinion with the Truman Show, right? Making those like comparisons. And so there are obviously some characters in the film that do have like a heart, that aren't desensitized, that do understand the truth, but they have something in common, right? So obviously Lauren/Sylvia and that main control room director that decides like not to drown him. I mean, they both help Truman in the end, but to begin with, they were both technically hired by the company, right? She was hired as an actress on the set, and then Truman just fell in love with her. So then she started to want to help him, free him after, right? She's like, free Truman. She's like picketing, making the buttons, all that stuff. And then the control room director too, right? It's a very powerful moment in the film when he's saying like, Truman, no, like he tied himself to the boat. He's going to die and he doesn't even care, right? Like he has a moment of humanity and realization that like, this is a human man so desperate for the truth and to be free, he's willing to die for it. And here I am pushing buttons, making the weather crazy, gonna like drown him. Right? So he has that epiphany of like, oh my God, what am I doing? And refuses, right? Like, no, I won't do it. He stops and then Kristoff has to come in. So those are moments too where they like turn around, right? They both were hired and then they both realize that it's wrong and like have a soul and have a heart and realize the truth that like Truman deserves to like be free and make his own life and do what he wants. Go to Fiji, whatever he wants to do, right? He obviously wants to be with like Lauren/Sylvia. And so, yeah, just like that power of the human spirit too, like for him, he's so determined to like seek the truth and be free and live an authentic life. And I think that's what the message of the film is like, that's what we all want, right? But we get bombarded by these like frivolous TV shows, this reality TV, all these advertisements. Like we get distracted from what is really important in life and like the truth of like life in general. So yeah, hopefully that helps you kind of plan out your response. Obviously there's other things you could talk about for sure, as long as you're answering that topic. Okay, so you can definitely like talk about some of these characters, or you can bring in like an example of a reality show and how it's like similar. Just make sure you're making like clear connections and comparisons, okay? And you'll notice on the like discussion questions sheet, it says like first break in like little stars. That's because usually we'd only watch like sections of the film at a time, then we'd have a discussion and like do some questions and talk about it. So you can obviously just ignore that. But yeah. Other than that, I think we're pretty good. I am going to post, there is a like PowerPoint I might post with it too. No, I won't, because it has work and you guys are confused. So scratch that last part I just said. So anyways, watch the film. If you have troubles accessing the film, let me know. You're going to have quite a bit of time. Like that's what you'll do like the rest of this week. It's not going to be due till like Tuesday night of next week. So you have a lot of time. But if there's any questions that you have, like please come join the Google Meet. If you can't make it during the time, so our class time every day there's Google Meet, but if you cannot make that time, like I can schedule a time to meet just with you one-on-one if you have questions, or just email me if you have questions, okay? And I think that's all. So I hope you guys enjoy the film. I'm excited to read your responses. If you want me to proofread them before you submit them, just like share it with me and like write me a note asking. I can do that, or we can meet over Google Meet and like talk about it quickly. But other than that, I hope you enjoy it. It's one of my favorite movies and it's so interesting. So enjoy, and I'll see you guys next time.